Hello, malo lede, talofa, pulavinaka, kiora, and aloha,
Man,
everyone. Thank you for joining us this beautiful New Zealand evening over here. It's about almost 5 o'clock. Beautiful day today. Still a little bit chilly, but it's a great day today. I can't complain. It's a Saturday for me. Got a lot of things done within the family here, just typical errands. But everything is going well here on this side of the world. Tua, how you doing? How's family? How's Vegas? How you doing, man?
yeah, the entertainment capital of the world is alive and well. It's been a long weekend. Did some traveling up to Reno this week for work. About once or twice, so every other week I go up to Reno for work. Just fly in the morning, take care of some stuff, then fly back in the evening. So had one of those long days, but I'm glad we're getting towards the weekend. So
Friday for you,
pretty good.
Saturday for me.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we celebrate those things, like I
Yeah.
used to when I was a project manager out in the field. I'd always tell my teams, we got to figure out ways to have fun because no one's going to figure it out for us. So
Mm,
it's
mm,
always great to have the weekends and figure out what you want to do. We got
mm.
some early activity here on YouTube. Polly Prince says, no better timing. Let's go.
Malo Polynesian Prince. Thank you for joining us. Tua,
Yeah.
just a quick question: is Reno weather really that different with Vegas? Is it just much
Yeah.
cooler? And okay,
Much cooler, much
okay,
cooler because it's if you drive, just imagine it's a 5 6 hour drive from here to Salt Lake. It's a
yeah.
7 7.5 hour drive to Reno, so it's up north. It's cold.
Mm.
They get snow. So yeah, and it's the town's growing. Believe it or not, cost of living in Reno is more expensive than Vegas.
Oh yeah, way.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
because I played around with the idea maybe going to Reno, just to kind of check it out and looked at some of the houses there, and I was like, oh shit, Las Vegas. Las Vegas, even though it's more expensive than Texas,
Yeah.
but it was
It's
cheaper than Reno. It's because, I think California is only like an hour and a half drive
uh,
from
uh, uh,
Reno. So the Bay
uh.
Area, a lot of people from the Bay Area have moved over. They're building a lot of data centers and industrial stuff. Tesla has a gigafactory is in Reno.
In
So
Reno.
a
Okay.
lot of industrial and manufacturing being built in Reno, and
Okay.
tech stuff.
Is
So
it? Is
Manacoa,
it?
Reno.
Yes. Is it? I'm just trying to understand why cost of living would be so expensive. Is it just because they're just lacking infrastructure to make it supplies, or is it because maybe a lot more Democrat controlled compared to Vegas area, which is a lot more business friendly? I don't know. I'm trying to
That's
understand
a
why
good
it's a.
question. That's a good question. I don't know the demographics or the political stuff there. Um, it's just the demand there is a lot higher
Oh.
for whatever reason. It's the demand. I mean, you have like a little bit of a um you have a little bit of like casinos and stuff down in the Reno area. So you still get a little bit of that Las Vegas flavor. Obviously not at the scale of Las
Mm,
Vegas, right? Um, but yeah, I think I don't know the details, but I think it's just the demand. It's closer to the Bay Area, and so you can move to Reno, get all the benefits of not being in California, but still be able to
mm.
drive to the
Drive.
Bay
It's just a
Area
drive.
relatively
Yeah.
quickly.
Couple hours. Yeah.
Couple hours to get there. So
Okay. No, that's cool, Tua. That's cool, Tua. Just want to, thank you everyone for joining us in this live digital cover session. I know people are still making their way through. Always appreciate you guys' views and watching the content, and also your guys' support. Tua and I really appreciate on the Polynesian Eyes podcast. But other than that, Tua, that's just kind of the intro. Anything else, Tua, you want to touch on?
um, nothing specific besides been a great month for us
Mm,
on social media. We keep breaking through ceilings. right? We had a
Yeah.
great month in June. We had another great month in July, with subscriptions, with views, with comments. Really appreciate everyone uh, sharing in the super chats and in the super
Yeah.
thanks, which gives me a reminder. We do have a super thanks to walk through here. If I can, I'll kind of keep searching for it. I see it right here. But great, another month as July came to an end. We're continuing to, continue to increase. I think at the rate that we're going, because of the great support we're getting, YouTube alone will be in 1 year at the rate that we're seeing 1.5 to 2 million views in a year, just on the YouTube channel alone. So that's pretty
Mm.
cool, and we're pretty excited about that. And that's because of all the support that's everyone that's giving us, including, which is, we'll start with that, is give a reminder to everyone, if you have a question or a comment you
Yeah.
want us to make sure that we highlight and bring up, super chats, please throw it in there. We're monitoring that. And also, if you don't make the live but you want to do, I guess there's a feature called super thanks. I
Mm.
guess I didn't know that existed, but some people will make comments in the super thanks and throw us whakapare iu masi
Oh,
for the for the broadcast. Give you a
is
little
it because of
whakapare.
my kulafarde that's happening? Yeah. Yeah.
And so we will take the time on the super thanks as well to highlight those comments. But real quick, Wada Bears, our official
PR boss
PR
man.
rep,
Mm.
he says California is a, I won't say the full word there, Wada Bears, but the poop emoji show. The poop emoji show. That's the nice way of saying it. Wada Bears can say that because he calls California home.
and
So
and and Water Bears is just gangster like that. So Water Bears can say it whatever he wants. Yeah.
the public
Malo.
relations representative of the
Eh,
Polynesian live digital conversations can say whatever he wants.
he
He's earned
wants.
that right. He's
Yes,
earned
sir.
that right.
Yes,
Malo Water
sir.
Bears. So we're gonna pull up a super thanks. Just want to read out that comment real quick. Masi
Oh, yeah, yeah, go for
recognize
it.
the contribution. So this super thanks came from Mika Losiale and $20 New Zealand. And his question, I'll read it out. Masi, he says, Tua, need to invite content creator named Langi Tuaiva. Tuaiva
Hmm.
will be good to get his perspective. He reckons the Furitaunga is actually originated from Samoa, from the Lo'au clan. Be good if he can join us, because we as Polynesians need to learn our history, not just the Tongan point of view, from the Samoan, Fijian, Cook Islands, Niuean, Uvea, and Futuna, etc. It's the only way going forward. Thoughts on that, Mr. Aotearoa?
Nice. No, thank you to Mika Lociale for that comment. I think yeah, I have no problem. I think that's what we've kind of been doing, Tua. I think anyone that we feel like can give feedback to add their idea into the live digital kava session, we always have an open invitation, and we will present that open invitation all the time. Every time we do a live digital kava session, that everyone is welcome to join us and to present their ideas, and let the people decide after that. Um, we're still going to keep doing it. Thank you, Mika Lociale, for reminding us. But yes, I know we have been putting invitations out for anyone, and we try to meet them with their schedules that kind of aligns with ours, and we try to make it happen. But thank you, Mika, because we're all trying to understand our origin as a Polynesian nation. Malo. How about you, Tua?
Yeah, 100% agreed with that, Mika. Mr. Aotearoa is actually the one working the hardest on getting those diverse set of ideas, right? He's reached out to academics, to brothers and sisters throughout the different islands. And I think you should kind of let everyone know, Masi, that tomorrow is
Yes.
going to be a fruition, come to fruition, this comment and this question. Want to give everybody a heads up on the live that we're planning to do tomorrow, Mr. Atearoa, and the guests that we're having us join us on the live Kava session tomorrow.
Yes, so tomorrow we're gonna have our first, to my understanding, our first Samoan coming in, Dr. Sunny Natanielu. He's been on some programs here within the country of New Zealand. That's how I came across him. So tomorrow's episode will be a Samoan Ha'amoa flavor. Tu and I are looking forward to it, and also hosting Mr. Natanielu to join us to kind of add his thoughts and his perspectives, and just have a great talanoa at the kava, so at the kava session. So yeah, that's what's coming tomorrow, and just be prepared for that, and if you're available to join us. That's it for me. Do anything else to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's something, for anyone that we may have reached out to that you haven't responded yet, but you are watching. Uh,
Yeah.
we're not interested in having a yelling match or being disrespectful or try to have a. It doesn't have to be a debate. If there's interest in having a debate, great. But if it's more of we want the ideas to be expressed, right? Maybe
Mm,
there's a couple questions here and there. We're more interested in having people share their ideas, give them the time and the space to express their ideas to the best ability that they can, share oral history that they know so that everyone can hear it, and then everyone can make up their own minds
yeah.
about what they want to believe or what sides of the story they want to hear about. So yeah, we'll continue to send out those invitations.
Yeah.
Great. With that being said, we're gonna go to the first part of the show, and we're going to do a little bit of a discussion on Chief of War, Mr. Atearoa.
Oh.
What let me add some banners here, so that we
Oh.
can have that
Go for it.
in
Go
the
for it.
bottom here. But have you heard anybody give any feedback to you, Masi, on Chief of War at all?
Not yet. Do I don't know if it's out yet in here in New Zealand. I'm not too sure if it's out yet, but I know it's already out for you guys the 1st of August. So it's already the 1st of August. It's out. So I'm sure the Polynesian community and everyone who's non-Polynesian are probably having access to it, and have already seen it. So, Tua, have you watched it? Have you done anything to get access to it of the Chief of War?
Yeah, I actually watched the first two episodes,
Mm,
and overall, man, I think they're doing a good job. The first parts are all in Hawaiian. I don't know if you know that, but there were some
no.
interesting things in there. Number one, a lot of the words very familiar, very
Yeah.
familiar with a lot of the words. So that did surprise me. Uh, and But in regards to the storyline, I think they're building a good storyline with Kahekiri from Maui, and the war that's going on. And I won't get into the details. Don't want to be a spoiler, as my daughters say. Spoiler alert. Don't want to share too much, but I think the quality of the show and the passion that's in it, I think they're doing a pretty good job, right? Like,
Mm,
I don't know if I'm just biased because I'm excited because it's Polynesian history, right? But I'm trying to
mm.
look at it as fair as I can. And honestly, my biggest fear is only that they'll do something and it's corny, right? It won't be done to a high quality. The acting
Mm.
is not good. Um, the casting's not good. But I'll tell you right now, man, I've seen the first two episodes, and I think they're doing a great job. And if it continues on the path that it looks, I think this could have a lot of potential. And once again, we discussed this a little bit on one of our past lives. Thank goodness Jason Momoa just didn't didn't just say, "Oh, you have to be Hawaiian," because he pulled a lot of
Mm.
talent from different parts of
Everywhere.
Polynesia, and it
Mm.
makes a difference. It makes a difference when you get actors and actresses who have experience. It just makes the
Mm.
quality of
It just
the
enhances.
presentation so much
Mm.
better, right? And
Mm.
especially if you're not as well funded as someone who has like a immeasurable budget, like some of these blockbuster Hollywood shows. Um, when you have good acting and you have good cinematography, you don't have to have the huge budget as much, to
Mm.
make things up. But I think overall they're doing pretty good.
No, nice, nice. And I know we kind of discussed this on our last digital kava session with Maka, but I'm glad they're pulling all the Polynesian talent to create this because it looks like we are there in 2025 that we have enough, and then we can also pull people who are still kind of early in their careers to kind of put them on the kind of big stage, you would say, for
Mm.
them for doing this. So I would, yeah. So no, that's awesome. Dua. I know. See, for me, like I'm glad, like the ones who are being in like the important characters are, because I think it does make a difference when you're Hawaiian in my sense for like those main characters. I think it was the Hawaiian that's acting as King Kamehameha. Of
Hmm.
course, you get Momoa getting that. And to me, as long as you like those big main ones are like, you know, are Hawaiian because there's there could be some. I feel like there is a spiritual maybe into it that an obligation kind of thing. But to me, everyone else, it can be it can be the whole Polynesian because we are like one Polynesian community. And if there, like I said, if there's any people who's gonna understand another island that is within the Polynesian nation, it's a Polynesian from another island instead of a non-Polynesian. So it just, to me, I think it's Momoa has done the right thing, and I believe as overall talent, 2025, there's enough for us to do multiple series, even when this one is done. Like I said, hopefully this is just the first step to many further series of Polynesia. Be pretty cool.
No, 100%. And I just searched this up while you were speaking, Mussy. Let's learn a little bit more about the guy that Jason Momoa chose to play Kamehameha, because he's not an actor,
Mm,
right? And I watch, and maybe this video will show it, but I guess Jason Momoa talked to this guy like many years before and told him, said, when I do this show,
mm,
I'm gonna have you. I don't know if he said I'm gonna have you be Kamehameha, but he said I'm gonna have you in the show. And he was, I guess the guy's like, yeah, sure, whatever, man. I'm not
yeah,
even an actor, and you're gonna pick me. So he was shocked. Like many years later, Jason Momoa came back and said, "You're
I
gonna
got the
be
I got
Kamehameha."
the money. I'm the boss
Yes,
now. Gonna
yeah,
hire you.
I can I
Mighty.
can make these calls. I can make these calls now. So I'm gonna. It looks like I found a segment that's gonna talk about the actor that's brought to it, and so let's bring that and just kind of um, listen to this real quick, Mister Ateroa.
Let's go.
Welcome back to Living 808. From Kalo Fields to your TV screen, Kainamakua's journey is rooted in culture and purpose. He joins me now to talk Chief of War, legacy, Aina, and the future of our Lahui. Good to see you, Kaina. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
All right, let's talk about, as executive director of Kumano Ikeala, can you share how your organization strengthens ancestral connections through Aina-based practices and educational initiatives?
Always the first going to be work. We got to
Yeah.
learn how to work. We got to put in some time, some sweat equity. And so that's how we built out all of Kumano and what it is today.
Right.
We get some pretty big time acreage.
Yeah.
Anything from 70
So he's like
acres just on Kauai and
100%
40 acres here
full-time
Right.
on
farmer.
Oahu. And
Yeah.
instilling language, instilling culture, reintroducing our youth back to Aina
Right on.
because they've strayed so far away from it.
Yeah, I like this. Let's also talk about Chief of War.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
by
yeah,
the
yeah.
way. We were just talking during commercial break on, how proud we are, as people of Hawaii that we're being portrayed, but correctly portrayed. So tell everybody a little bit how this journey, this unique journey, unfolded for you, and how do both storytelling and Malama Aina help you carry forward Ike Kupuna in today's world?
All started with Jason Momoa seeing myself on the beach, 2019,
Nice.
coaching paddling at the state championships for regatta.
Right.
And invited me to his house that night. Said I was going to play Kamehameha. I told him, you lying to me.
You already called it.
Little did I know, 3 years down the line, I get the call and the rest is history.
Yeah, here we are.
But all of the facets on set, the mo'olelo that we can tell, and now that Hollywood can see that we get some major mo'olelo in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And how do we tell those stories there, and how do we tell the stories
cool.
live, with the youth?
Yeah, powerful stories.
Big time.
For sure. So let's talk about, the work and how do you see this series shaping global awareness of our elite?
I think it's more than just Hawaii,
Yeah.
Not I think, I know. Indigenous people, native people across the world go through the same problems that we go through have the same
100%.
type of mo'olelo. And we can all be, if this can be, will be, the head of the spear, the tip of the spear that opens it up for all of us.
Yeah.
And that's just how,
Yeah. Telling the story of Kamehameha is it's a powerful thing, and it's such a big responsibility. How was it for you working with everybody, Jason Momoa and the team on the show? I feel like there's such a big respect, that Apple TV is putting into this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do you feel being a part of this project?
There's so much that I like to say, but to keep it short, I just did what I would do. I think of acting now. And if you really had to pick out any random person in Hawaii that lived or was born anywhere from the 70s to 2000, early 2000, anybody could have acted, can act.
Right.
We have so much creativity. We understand and are grounded so greatly in those years that you can pick out anybody from Hawaii.
I love that.
That's what I believe. I honestly believe that.
Right on. No, that's awesome because, anybody,
see the quality,
because we all live the stories that are being told.
Remember when you was a little kid?
Yeah.
We all didn't act around.
Yeah. Speaking of little kid, I say this all the time. You put slippers on your hand, you run faster.
Come on.
It's just
Getting better than that.
Looking ahead, what are your hopes for both Kumano Ikeala and the future of our Lahui?
Well, Kumano Ikeala, we have work days at the end of every month on Oahu at our one farm site in Kauailoa, Kukuiloa. So you can check us out at kumanoikeala.org on all of our handles, our social handles, Instagram, Facebook. What do I hope? I hope people buy in more to Aina, because really, it's not Aina that need us. It's us who need Aina.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
We don't want with the problems. And Aina going to help solve those problems.
Awesome. Let's also talk about Chief of War real quick. When this premieres on August 1st on Apple TV, what do you hope that the rest of the world takes away from our stories?
Ooh, that all of our stories can be told, and we all get good stories.
Yeah.
Every indigenous people.
And that we're here.
And that we're here.
Yeah, and we ain't going nowhere. All right, if anybody wanted to follow you, Chief of War premieres on Apple TV August 1st.
Mari, any thoughts, Mr. Aotearoa, to that? I think you did a pretty good job.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of speaking to what I've always kind of talked about, like when he said with the tip of the spear. This is all the indigenous people kind of stories, and especially with the history of Hawaii, and also the storytelling and getting our people to tell our stories. And like I said, man, I'm glad they chose him because the thing is, and I'm glad, and he kind of mentioned anyone can do it, but to me, Momoa picked the right person because one, he looks like Polynesian Hawaiian, because Tua and many people who probably live in Hawaii. Hawaiians are very mixed with the Asian and Palangis, and it's kind of hard to see that, and it's actually seeing that gentleman. You don't see many Hawaiians that kind of still have that look like a Tongan, especially Ha'amoan, So I'm glad Momoa did his homework because he did a good job on picking him because he looks the part, and you can tell he's a farmer. He's just
he has the
spiritually
energy. He has the energy too, aura.
Yes. And if there's somebody that's gonna be close to act maybe of the Hawaiians back in the days, it seems like he's the good choice to portray that. So hey man, this is only the beginning, and when it gets hopefully all the Polynesian islands, then will have the ability and opportunity to tell their story when their time comes on the big screen for everybody, because it will be pretty cool. And this is just the first stepping stone. That's my thoughts, Tua, that I took away from that interview. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I just like the energy and kind of the body language that comes from him. He's relaxed, he's sitting back, he's talking. He does seem to carry, and maybe that's what Jason saw in him, was that's the energy of the Polynesian energy that comes to the
Yeah,
table. And
yeah,
he doesn't have to do a lot of acting. He just has to be himself. You know
yeah,
what I mean? All he's got to do is
yeah,
be himself, maybe memorize some lines, but he has the look, he
yeah.
has the energy, he has the temperament,
Hmm.
and really glad that Jason, because that's a risk, right? I mean, that's the thing.
Heck yeah, he's never acted
What
before.
I'm
That's a huge risk.
exactly, and then we're learning a lot about Jason Momoa from these selections. Is number one, he understands that the product is the number one thing. We have to provide a good product. So we need the talent, right? So he's
Yeah.
bringing in the talent from throughout Polynesia that's been in cinema that are non Hawaiians. But then he also knows you need that authentic
Yes.
Hawaiian touch to it. And
Yes.
he finds it in this guy, but then this guy hasn't acted before. And so he's like, oh, yeah, you know what? It's okay,
Mm.
we'll bring him, right? We'll bring him to the table. We'll take care of him, and we'll have him be the face, because everybody, that's the one that's going to get the most amount of scrutiny. The
Yes.
role of Kamehameha, just because he's such an important figure for Hawaii.
Yes.
So it's Maria. When you look at it, it's like Jason Momoa is showing some really good knowledge, skill
Yeah.
set, decision making. And so far, when I've seen the first two series, it's also, I mean, I'm excited. I'm really excited for this. I think this has a ton of potential, and I'm hoping this does really well, because if this story does really well, it opens up the door to so much more, right? I
Yes.
mean, I don't
100%.
want to sound too corny, but Lilo and Stitch, Moana, those are little things that build up now the interest. Now you have Jason Momoa adding to it. The overall opportunity this is for all Polynesians is pretty exciting.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Nah, awesome. Awesome.
So, with that being said, Malo Water
Hey,
Bears
water
with
bears.
a super chat, and
Malo.
with that being said, Water Bears comment is he's got the look. Actually, looks
Yeah.
Polly unlike Lilo and Stitch, who got a Hafakashi looking nani.
No, water bears. That's exactly what I spoke about. Because I mean, you must have a lot of engagement with Hawaiians. Tua and I went high school there for a little bit too, and you don't see many
No,
Hawaiians that look like that. So, 100% agree. That's why I made that comment. Water bears. 100% agree. You know, malo,
Malo Water Bears.
malo
Another
maukama.
super chat from Mr. Clydemore. Malo, with your favorite phrase, Mr. Atearoa. Read out your favorite phrase from
This is
Clydemore here.
This is from Clydemore. Warm Pacific greetings. Clydemore, I was thinking maybe I should have done that to shorten the thing instead of saying the aloha, talofa, malo. Just say that. Warm Pacific greetings, because I get everybody and no one feels like they're left out. So hey,
Mm.
malo, Clydemore, malo, maukawa, shit, malo.
Malo and Maukava, Clydemore. Malo and Maukava, Water Bears. Ay, Yahweh.
Hmm.
Water Bear says, my Faitava Ali for tonight, Malo Tokos for the dope content. Mashi,
Hey,
Malo, Water
appreciate
Bears.
it. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the digital kava for tonight, and we'll
Yeah.
store it for future lives. And as we mentioned, Water Bears and everybody listening in, we're going to do another live tomorrow. It'll be around 5 p.m. Pacific, but we're having a guest join us. Mr. Atero was mentioning we're very excited. We reacted to one of his videos. His name is, he's a professor,
Yeah.
Sonny Natanielu, and excited to bring him and share some knowledge with us at the live digital Kava sessions.
Yes, and that next live digital cover session will be a heavy Samoan flavor, so it'll be
Mm,
fun. It'll be fun.
yes, yes, it will be. One of the things that I want to bring here is let's go to Mr. Momoa himself to hear what the experience was for him in putting this show together. So I'm going to share this tab. Let me bring it back to the stage.
Before we react to that, Tua, I got a quick question.
Yes.
Are they releasing what, one episode a week or two episodes a week? You have any idea? How are they releasing it, and how many episodes in a season? Do
Yeah.
you
So
know?
the information that I watched two, I was surprised to see two episodes
Okay.
last night. I was surprised to see two episodes because I thought they were coming one every week. Like
Okay.
one every week, and there's eight. There's eight episodes, is my understanding.
Okay.
So yeah. So
So
I
one
think
season.
that's the way I
Okay.
understand it. They're going to release one every week. So over the next 6 weeks, we're going to get a new episode every week, which is pretty cool, right? I mean,
Yeah.
every time we've seen a show like that, it's never been directly connected to Polynesians and our history. So that's kind of cool to add that to the table.
Okay. Nice.
I've ever shot, but I mean, like, it was not easy at all. It's one of the hardest things I've
Mm.
ever shot, but I mean, like, we fought and then we're here, and and it really is going to matter when everyone watches and how Hawaiian people feel about it. But I know the world's going to love it because the world loves Hawaii.
Mm, fair point. I mean, he's saying
Yes,
there,
sir.
man, this wasn't easy, right? And that's one thing. At the end of the day, no matter how this turns out, though I'm very optimistic this is going to be really positive. At the end of the day, no matter what happens, it wasn't easy, and we appreciate Jason Momoa for fighting for this. It sounds like he's been working on it for almost 10 years or over 10 years.
Wow.
So he's had this on the back of his mind. You know, that's probably the driver behind doing Aquaman and doing all these things. Game of Thrones, it was, yes, you got to take care of the bread and the butter you need today.
Yeah.
But he always had that goal that one day this is what we're going to do. And like you said, it's not easy. It's very trailblazing. It's cutting edge. And malo to this Hawaiian brother for willing to give me that new path for
Yes,
everyone.
sir. It makes me think too of that common phrase in American football, stack them days. I feel like that's what Momoa was doing when he was doing the Aquaman and Aquaman 2. He was just stacking them days,
Yeah,
knowing in the future he's doing this, but I think his real kind of goal was to get some credibility, get the trust of the people who have the hamstrings to the money to fund other
yeah,
future content, that he can get their trust, so that they're really not trusting anybody else. It seems like only Jason Momoa, these guys
yeah.
who are trusting
That's the
to run
thing.
anything. So
Yeah,
that's huge, and that's a huge thing that Momoa is doing. But it just makes me like Momoa. I didn't really, I was just like, oh, he's Polynesian, when he was in Aquaman. But like, it just makes me more a fan of Momoa, because one, we're doing actual stories of Polynesian people, and he's the forefront and the face of it. So, and I know it takes a
yeah,
lot of trust, because people don't just give money to anybody who just wants to do it for their own personal history, or because their family or whatever. So man, big risk, but I do hope it's not just successful. I hope it's overwhelmingly successful, because if it does prove that, it's only going to be a much faster pace that we can tell all our stories through Polynesia. So that's my thoughts too. I don't want it to be
no, hundred
successful. I want
percent.
it overwhelmingly be successful, this series.
Yes, Red Sea successful, right? We
Yes,
want it to just
deal.
dominate and to kind of go along because I don't think we can say enough about what Jason is doing here. Um, and it is like you said, he had to build credibility, right? And then he has to have the stomach to take a risk, to
Yeah.
use whatever credibility he's built up to go after this. Because if he wanted to play it safe, he would have picked someone who wrote the story and tell some kind of Viking story or whatever, something that's just
Mm,
popular right now. But he said,
mm.
nah, I'm going to take whatever credibility and the trust people have, and I'm going to do this, something that's never really been done at this scale, at this level. So big props
Yeah. Big
to
props
our
to Momoa.
Hawaiian brother right there, and also to
Yeah.
all the actors and actresses that we've seen so far on the show. They're doing a great job. Want to recognize Mr. Dendis Malo Maukava.
Hey, Dendis,
Dendis
Malo
Malo
Maukava.
Maukava. Hey, Dendis, if you have a question or a comment,
Yes.
that you want to tie to your digital kava that you just shared with us on the kava session, the digital kava session, please throw it into there. So malo abito toko. So Mr. Clydemore says, "Oh damn, I haven't seen it yet. I think you'll like it, Mr.
Me
Clydemore.
too.
Check
Me
it
too,
out.
Clydemore. I'm with you. I
Check
haven't
it
seen
out.
it yet. Tua has.
Yeah. So I think that's all we have for Mr. Jason Momoa and Chief of War. However, we
Mm.
have another topic that's still tied to Hawaii.
Oh,
And Mr. Aotearoa, kind of you're the one who's brought this up the most. Share kind of your interest, because I know you brought up
yes.
Menehune a couple times on the
Yes.
podcast. Kind of share with everyone like why that's always been interesting to you.
No, because I've heard stories even here in Aotearoa about much smaller, darker people here, and it reminded me of the stories in Hawaii with small, dark people called the Menehune. I don't know, for those who probably are familiar with the Maori language, what is it for the small people? I know in Samoan they're called the Sa'a for small people.
Mm.
Menehune in Hawaiian. Dua, is there a word in Tongan called for small people in Tongan? Dua, that you
I'm not
know of?
aware of any oral history of
Io,
like
there's no or
unusually small,
yeah, maybe because
small people.
they weren't in Tonga, but like those are the two areas Dua that I've heard of small people. Maybe Fiji, but I'm not too sure. But especially here in Aotearoa and Hawaii is where I kind of heard the term of the small people, and you know, to me is like I've always just kind of wondered I've kind of heard they were some parts that they were first settled within the Polynesian nation before the Polynesian people that we know of
Mm.
today came, and kind of because of our our intelligence and advancement in agriculture, social structure, um, and religion, we were kind of overwhelming compared to what they had, and we just kind of, let's just say, just kind of covered and just influenced them. We absorbed them, I would say, and their
Mm.
society, and then we just kind of mix. That's kind of that's kind of the stories I feel like what happened to these people. But yeah, that's kind of the interest where I came from with these Menehune small people, or the Sa, they say in
Interesting.
Samoa.
Clydemore, he says the Maoris spoke of the Patupahere, small white
Mm,
people that were on New Zealand before they came. So
interesting,
there
Clyde.
seems to be a theme, right? Like throughout
Mm,
Polynesia, maybe even other parts of the Pacific, of small groups or small statured people. So I'm one of those, like, if you just hear it once, you're like, oh, maybe it's true. But when you
yeah,
start hearing it over and over and over, that does that mean it's rock solid? It was a fact? No, but you have to at least be open to the idea when you see the consistency, right? In all
yeah,
these different groups of people and what they saw. So I came across a video that they talked about Menehune, because I heard about Menehunes in
mm,
in Hawaii, right? Living in Hawaii, and I still remember the Menehune water guy, right? The
yeah,
guy that he's like
yeah.
bottle of water. It's a little Menehune carrying it in Hawaii. So looks like there's this show. I wasn't quite sure looks like a Hawaiian guy's podcast. But he has a guest, and they're talking about menehunes and what they were. So let's just listen into that and see where it goes.
What is a menehune? Is it like an ancient Hawaiian? Is it a?
So it's believed in one aspect that the menehune came from somewhere else in the South Pacific, and that they're fully formed human beings, but very, less than 4 feet, but very stocky, and that they arrived first to the island of Kauai. Other stories say they're already on Molokai, and so eventually this group of menehune married into the Hawaiian, with Hawaiian people who were there. And some of the menehune didn't like that, so they just sailed back to whatever land it was they came from. When Ali would ask the menehune, "Oh, I need this fish pond, I need this hale," the menehune would say, "Okay, but you have to feed every one of my people, and when we do our work, you cannot be there. If anybody looks how we're doing it, that's it. It's done. We're walking away." During the time of Komo Ali, there was a census that was taken, the population on Kauai. I hope the number I say is not incorrect. It was found out that in Wainiha, there are 75 menehune. So today on Kauai, there's families who can legitimately claim that their bloodline comes from menehune bloodline.
And are they shorter in stature and everything?
Not necessarily, but you can tell by the features by some of these Hawaiians that they're definitely descended from menehune.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
No, and that what that gentleman was explaining about the history of the Menehune is what I understand too. That these people were like, they were not as civil. They were kind of. It seems like when I say civil, they were not like. It was so interesting when the Hawaiian asked the Menehune what they wanted in return when he asked to get a fishbone or whatever was to feed my people. That's what I understand, that they were not able to mass produce or farm to kind of, they were more like scavengers, kind of like moving around
Mm-hmm.
scavengers. And that's the understanding I got too from just the my interaction with people who are from have Maori connection here,
Familiar with the
also
menehunes.
familiar with the Menehune or the small people history, even in Hawaii, that they were kind of like that. So it just validates what he's explaining to what I've kind of heard, that they were kind of scavenger people and then kind of been absorbed. And they, like I said, absorbed into the Polynesian or the Hawaiian less customs and way of life. So that's my understanding as them like being very scavenger, gathering, and very not civil and sophisticated as Polynesians, and that's why they were
Hmm.
kind of absorbed into the civilization. I would say the Polynesian civilization kind of thing. So, yeah, that's my thoughts there. What's your thoughts, Tua?
Well, there's one thing that stuck out to me when I listened to it. It's that part that when he said that when the ali'i, which is what
Mm,
we say is the eiki, right? That's where the term
yeah.
eiki comes from, would go and ask the menehunes they wanted something or needed something, that they would say, "You can't watch us make it."
Mm,
That reminded me, remember that one Samoan professor that was doing the presentation that had to be translated into French, Mussy? That one
mm,
where we talked about where he said that some of the oral history in Ha'amoa says that Tangaloa was a foreigner,
yeah.
and that
Yeah.
they had found some genetic studies that showed that later on in Samoan history that new DNA was inserted, and that he had explained that he thought that that's when Tangaloa's DNA gets added into the Samoan gene sequence there. But he also mentions the tufunga or the lo'au. And in the story of the tufunga and the lo'au, they said that whenever they would build the stuff for the chiefs or the tu'imanua or whatever, no one
Yeah.
was allowed to watch them, and they did it
Mm,
at night, right? And that
yeah.
what happened was someone actually came and saw them while they were doing it, and apparently they were doing it without any clothing, doing the work, the building and stuff, or something happened, something of that sort that offended them. And also that this tufunga built something, I believe, for the tu'imanua that Tangaloa had not allowed, and that
Mm,
there was some beef in there. So I find it interesting that those, like we said, we talked about small people being
yeah.
identified. Now we're hearing similar oral histories about people building stuff that have some kind of skill sets or who do work, but they have the same requirements where you can't be watching them while they
Mm,
do the work. So I find that interesting
it
that
is
you're
interesting.
seeing all these parallels, which is why we need more people to come to the digital kava session and share
Yeah.
those stories.
Yes, sir.
Because like Mika Lociale said in his super thanks, hey, we need to have more people come. We're trying. We're more than willing to have people with other ideas to come and speak. And we would be more than happy to facilitate that because we can make these connections, right? I've
Mm,
never heard this side of the Menehune, that little nugget, right? That
yeah.
little nugget of, oh yeah, they would build stuff, but then they said you couldn't watch them. I was like, well, wait a minute. That's the same thing we heard about some of the oral history in Ha'amoa of the Lo'aus. Now, is
Mm,
there a connection between the Lo'aus and the Menehune? I don't know. But
mm,
we do now, we see that connection in the stories. So that's really
interesting.
what stuck out to me in listening to that. But the Menehune seem interesting because the guy says they were there before the first Polynesians get there, but then they're not happy with integrating with the Hawaiians or the Polynesians,
Mm,
so they get in the boats and leave. So what does that mean? That means they have some kind of navigational skill,
yeah.
right? They have some type of boat building because
Mm,
Hawaii is relatively isolated, right?
mm,
And they didn't say they left Kauai and went to Oahu. It sounded like they left to wherever they came from. Well,
mm.
that's not a 50-mile journey. That's at least a few hundred. How far away is Hawaii from Tahiti? Like, is Tahiti like the closest thing?
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. Closest
You
island.
know?
Probably Guam close by. Who knows? You know?
Yeah. And those are not like, oh, just throw a rock and that's how far they're gonna go. This is a pretty serious navigation effort there. So, man, I don't know. I thought that was interesting. Anything to add to that, Mr. Atearoa?
Uh Let me see here. No. Just very interesting. Hopefully the more like we said, Dua, the more we talk about this, I think the more we can puzzle the pieces together of the Polynesian history. So and these are people who are definitely are not part of the, seem like they were a different heritage or share a different gene pool with something else. So, you know, I find that very interesting, and hopefully we can, as time goes on, we can hear more stories of other people having these stories of the Menehune or the Sa'a they would call in Samoa.
So Menehune Sa'a, I didn't know the term Sa'a. And then as Clymore mentioned the Patu Pahere
Yeah, that's another.
in the Maoris, amongst the Maoris.
That's a new term. Yeah, never heard of that one. So that's good.
Okay. I'm having our research assistant, our dedicated digital research
Super
assistant,
Gronk.
do some. We're having Grok. I just asked Grok a very simple query. Can you tell me oral histories of small statured people throughout Polynesia? So we will see what that is tied to. But here's a good comment, Mr. Atearo. You want to read this one out?
Yes, this is from Water Bears. Dwarves building things. Why does that remind of the elves building toys in Santa's shop? Mind blown. Maybe these are the Polynesian maybe
Elves.
elves. Maybe these were the Polynesians were Santa and the Menehunes were the elves, water bears. Maybe that seems to be the piece here that we're going through. But thank you for your comment, water bears. Appreciate it. What you think, Tua?
Hmm. I think Water Bears might be onto something. I think I'm not trying to be disrespectful, just trying to have some
Mm,
fun here. Maybe
mm.
we need to just create a new Tui Santa, because apparently we can build empires just off of conversations and words. Maybe we just create a new Tui, a
Yeah.
Tui Sante.
Not only that, when we create a new title, we gotta create a new cover for that title. So
Mm.
who's gonna? Maybe Water Bears, you let me know what's the protocol for this new cover for the Tui Santa we can try to do. Eh? It'll be interesting. Hello.
Eh. Maria, malo, Water Bears. We're gonna have Water Bears be the toa for the new Tui Center,
Popo.
eh? And
Popo.
the elves Kava Circle. Maria, malo bito. Water Bears. Masi, I think Grok must be finding all kinds of stuff here. My
Okay.
man is still
Okay.
searching. My man's still
Okay.
searching right now.
Okay.
I think maybe Grok heard us talking about the new Kava protocol is going to make us a protocol right through here. Hey,
Oh.
hey, Pridemore says,
Oh.
Kumi mai hafufare tige taua tu isanta.
Hey, hey,
Hey,
I'm thinking, are we gonna cook me the variety from Upolo or Savai for you, Water Bears? What do you want? Eh, fere, fere,
and
like they say, tele.
yeah,
So a tele fafafine inapia or
yeah,
something.
inapia, eh? I mohane fu ufi pit. Eh? Make
Ufi
sure
pit.
you guys I have fu ufi pit. Hmm? We can't have a Tui Center without the Ufi pits to
Oh
make it
yeah,
complete,
Maria,
you
Rajo.
know? Marie. Yeah, wait. I guess it's I'm seeing here. Let's share this because I guess Grok is oh finally looks like Grok finally is pulling up some
Complete.
stuff.
Ah.
So yeah, Grok is still running through this.
Oh wow.
So
Okay. Okay.
the
Okay.
Menehune, we already discussed the Menehune. And wow, it actually goes through some pretty detailed. What the heck? And this might be worth just kind of walking through this. Mushy, let's see
All
here.
right. Let's go. Well, you just tell me what to read and
Start
what part
reading
you want
that
me to start.
That
All right.
Menehune stuff.
So just for our viewers to be aware of, this is our Gronk findings here. So Menehune, these are described as diminutive, muscular beings with red skin, hairy bodies, lush hair, short, thick noses, low, protruding foreheads, big eyes under thick eyebrows, and a fearsome appearance. Why am I thinking people from Papua? Tua? I don't know.
That's what I thought when they said short, stocky, short,
See,
stocky.
the nose, and then now lots of hair. Papua Maya for me. Okay, all right. Fearsome appearance. They are portrayed as industrious and strong, often considered the original inhabitants, Kamaaina, who retreated
Hey,
northwest.
Kamaaina. I thought that was Foodlands. Kamaaina rates.
Your Kamaaina rates, Maria. So, who retreated northwest for migrations from Tahiti, with Kauai as
Ah,
their last stronghold. Their abilities include masterful craftsmanship with wood and stone, building shrines, heiau, ponds, waterways, roads, and temples, often completing massive projects in a single night through coordinated efforts like human chains for transporting stones. Key stories include constructing the Ale Coco fish pond on Kauai
hmm.
by diverting the Huleia River with a 274-meter dam, building the Kikiaola watercourse at Chieftain Ola's request, finishing it overnight with stones passed for miles, aiding in canoe construction for figures like Laka or Kakai's servant Kekupua, rewarded with food such as taro and fish. Yes, okay. And legends of petrified menehune like Poha Kina, Pua'a, punished for theft, or Kau Kuiki, turned to stone for boasting. They are nocturnal, sleeping in deep forests during the day, and associated with water, cliff diving, and noisy behavior. that could frighten wildlife. One motif is their willingness to help humans for rewards, with the proverb "Hepo ho'okahi, a'au uapau," in one night, and by dawn it is finished. What's your thoughts, Dua,
Hmm.
for that part?
Here's a,
Interesting.
here's a couple things that stick out to me that is kind of unusual. Um, Let me see. Didn't here say that they're red colored, red skin?
Yes, red
Okay,
skin. Hmm.
so it's red skin. This is the thing, Masi. A lot of the things that are sticking out here is they sound very similar to the loau. The
Hmm.
loau the loau is the red ant,
Hmm.
and hamea is the red ant's mound. Right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
they're so I find that very interesting.
That is
And
very interesting.
ants
Good thing you picked it up.
and
Yeah.
and the ants are small but very strong. Like this may
Eh.
not necessarily be a physical description of the Lo'au themselves, but more about their capabilities and their abilities. And that
Mm.
they may be small, but they're mighty. They do great tasks. They're building. Um, they're helping build that's basically the mound builder civilization is built off of the Lo'au. And they're doing infrastructure. They're building great infrastructure here. So I find that very interesting that the more I listen to this, it may be that this is more a description of not necessarily, this is like a heriaki of how to describe the Lo'au clan and their influence throughout Polynesia. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here and
Mm.
thinking out loud about when you hear all the different stories, and what's being described here is it sounds like they're describing a function of a group of people in the Polynesian society. And you know, just my gut feeling here is maybe when the Lo'au is leaving is when the Polynesian nation is shrinking, or maybe there's an issue. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, but
Mm.
I'm starting to think there may be a connection here to actually describing the Lo'au
Wow.
clan in
No,
and in the Polynesian nation.
no. Awesome, awesome, Tua. I'm glad you picked that up, and I feel like maybe there is some correlation because I've always heard David Tafale mention about the Lo'au being, the small, not small, but like ant, like work is it's a description of people of like the ants, the red ant mound building,
Yeah,
and it. I
industrious
mean,
people.
yes,
Yeah,
industrious people. So this, I mean, these are small. Seems like they're industrious when they're. It seems like they only work when there's a reward coming to us. It seems like, or if they're commanded kind of thing, because they seem like, they sleep during the day and are like, what it says. They're active at night, and it seems like food and fish. Like food, it seems to be something a huge reward for these people. So I feel like they're industrious and must be little subgroups within this whole kind of community. That's what I'm
you
kind of seeing.
know, you know what comes to mind when you bring that up, Masi.
Mhm.
Remember when we talk about all the ruins and the work that's done on Tongatapu or anywhere, what do you need? You need a large labor force. And you
Mhm.
need, when you have a large labor force, just like a large army, what do you have to do? You have to feed them.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, let's say, because we talked about the Tokatufa,
Yeah.
right? So you have Tangaloa and you have the Tuitonga, and they're having children with multiple of these islands, with the women from these islands. They become the leaders of these islands. And you could, from what you were hearing here, is let's say they go and you're, a descendant of Tangaloa or the Tuitonga on a distant island, and you
Mm.
need a major infrastructure job done. Well, obviously, you're going to need the Loau clan. And the
Iyo.
Loao clan says, well, you're going to need the labor to do all that work. And in order for us to bring that labor, you know what your job is when that labor comes? You got to feed and you got to take care of that labor. Like
Mm,
that's what you have to provide as the leader of that island is we're going to bring a large group of people
mm,
to do this work. You have to be able to feed them and take care of them. And maybe the fact that this proverb, in one night and by dawn it's finished, it's because of the sheer mass of labor,
mm.
the count of labor that's coming. Like it's for all intents and purposes, maybe it took a few weeks or a few days,
Iyo. Iyo.
but compared to what it would have been done if they didn't have that labor, it's like one day. It's like
Mm.
one day you have a whole pond coming. Now imagine if you're a leader or a descendant of Tangaloa or of the Tuitonga in this area, how reinforcing that is to the followers to be like, oh, this is why he's our leader, because he can bring these resources to us to build this infrastructure for us, and it can happen like that. It's reinforcing their leadership on the island, and they're talking about like all those what do they call the sacred mounds or like the stone structure? Hey Yao, it
Hey,
sounds like the
yow.
Menehune. They're building all those things.
Mm.
So you could look at all the maraes throughout Tahiti and all these other stuff. This could be one of the few ways that that story was maintained through the generations through oral history. I don't know. Just thinking out loud
Yeah. Yeah.
and
We're
looking
just
at some of the patterns here.
yes. We're just picking what things make sense and compare it to what we've kind of learned in the past, and just trying to put it together. We're all, like I said, we're just trying to put the puzzle together of a big Polynesian nation that's in the biggest ocean in the world.
Yeah,
you know?
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. I'll read the next one, Mr. Atearoa. It
Okay.
says, Mu or Muay Maya, found in the stories of Kauai's Wanika Valley. These are very short, stocky, bearded beings with brown skin, shaggy hair, bushy eyebrows, and a wild, easily frightened nature. Less skilled than Menehune, they are cunning thieves who steal fish, poi, bananas, clothed at night, living in banana leaf huts. These are like the opposites. Menehune. On steep hillsides. They initially lacked fire, domestic arts, but learned from a bird catcher. Legends portray them as possibly the first inhabitants of Kauai, retreating to mountains. A key story involves a bird catcher marrying a Mu woman and having a daughter who is later captured by Chieftain Nane during a hunt and adapts to a village life. So there seems to be a difference between Menehune and the Mu. That's like a different class of
Yeah.
people.
Well, it looks like one, oh, maybe like one group of people, but maybe different. Maybe different. I don't know. It does seem different because the Menehune seems like they're the workers, and then these Mu ones are like the ones who are just maybe causing chaos or something. I don't know. I don't know, but they seem to be because they seem to be small people too, right? From what you
Mm,
just read for, but it seems like they could be. Who knows? Maybe these can be bunch of islands or something. These guys come from, and just depending on which island, they have different habits and culture. I don't know. I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know, but they seem genetically to be the same people that's in Polynesia, along with the Polynesians there.
Mm.
Want me
So
to read
here,
that next
so
one,
this
Tua?
one, yeah, this one, yeah. Let's go to the Cook Islands one. You want to read the Cook
Okay.
Islands?
Yep. So Cook Islands, Manaune. Okay. Described as small people in ancient traditions, possibly linked to early migratory waves or enslaved groups from Indonesia. In Mangaya, they are a tribe of early inhabitants. In Lalotonga, they are simply noted as diminutive. What does diminutive mean, Tua? Like, do you know? I've never seen that word.
I want to
I've never.
say insignificant, but let me search that up in the background.
All right. Motifs connect them to body markings, scar, or manahune in local languages, and suggest ties to Melanesian or Papuan influences. I knew it. I already knew it. Matai Papua. With little emphasis on specific abilities beyond general ancient settlement. Okay. I'm
So
seeing,
diminutive just means small. Just means
yeah.
small.
Okay. Diminutive just means small. Okay. No, it just my quick thoughts here too before I kind of ask your thoughts. Seems like a strong, the ones who tend to have stories of the Menehune or the Sa'as seems to be strong Eastern Polynesia, Hawaii, and New Zealand from what I see here
Mm,
because and what I know for those seems to be the earlier settlements because Eastern Polynesia seems to be one of the later, like not earlier settlements but like much later settlements of Polynesians because we all know
yeah, the
Polynesia
younger ones.
sprung
Yeah,
younger ones sprung up from Tonga to Ha'amoa, some interactions with Fiji, and then it kind of spread with Eastern Polynesia, go to Hawaii, and then back to Aotearoa. Because there seems, and that's a much recent history because there are much later people who settled the islands, and they were able to retain that oral history. I don't know. Just speaking out loud. I don't know if you had any additional thoughts or maybe something different, a different take to it.
yeah. There definitely seems to be a lot more on the Eastern Polynesian. Because I mean, we're looking here. The next one is New Zealand, right, or the Maori area. So I find that interesting because in Tonga, maybe some of the viewers or the listeners can share, but I don't remember a lot of discussions about tiny people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the only kind of things we have kind of, it's not a good saying is the ha'amineuri kind of thing that's in Udoa. That's not a good thing, but that's what I'm saying. As a description of small people, there's
But
really I haven't come
what is
across
that name tied to, Mr. Atero?
that's tied to Tahiti, you know?
There we go. The Mene seems to be tied to
Eh, it's okay.
the
We
Mene
all
Hune.
know. We all know the live digital conversation. Everyone's gotta keep an open mind and just let the conversation flow, however that may be. Eh?
Oh Yahweh. Oh Yahweh. But I mean, that's what they're calling it, right? Like the Menehune. I mean, that's another pattern that we're seeing. That term seems to be heavily tied to Eastern Polynesia, and even in Tonga,
Yeah,
when that term is used, they say, "Oh yeah, that's in reference to
Tahiti.
Tahiti in Eastern Polynesia."
Yeah,
So that
there's a
that word or that term is something that comes a lot from Eastern Polynesia. So maybe if it's not, let's say if we say it's not the Loao, then it could be just a bunch of the early inhabitants of Eastern Polynesia when the migrations went east. I don't know.
mm, mm,
Interesting. Interesting.
mm, maybe. No, and this is the great part of this conversation over here. Did you want me to? I can read the New Zealand version and oral history
Yeah, I think
regarding.
rightfully so, Mr. Aotearoa. You have to
Yes,
read this
sir.
one.
So, New Zealand, Maori regions, Manahua or Menehune. These share traits with Hawaiian Menehune: short, stocky, lush-haired, nocturnal, and skilled in wood and stone work. Some legends describe Menehune migrating from Kauai to New Zealand under chieftain Mauri Raitea, possibly influencing the Maori name. They are viewed as ancient ancestors with positive human relationships. Motifs include exceptional craftsmanship and early settlement, sometimes theorized under missionary influence as lost tribes of Israel. Interesting. Dua, what's your thoughts? Initial thoughts?
I thought we're the only crazy people to make any connections to Israel. How come over
Ah,
here they're talking about missionaries, right? I mean,
mm,
that's what sticks out to me is the missionaries saw this certain parallels with Israel. Same thing in Tonga, So maybe we're not so crazy that there's some connections to ancient Israel. I find it interesting that all the way north in Hawaii of the Polynesian Triangle to all the way south of the Polynesian Triangle to New Zealand, such a consistent naming and descriptions of skill sets. And how can we not say we were one nation? I don't know. That's another thing
Yeah,
that sticks out to me. How can
yeah.
people say, "Oh yeah, we weren't one nation"? So those
That,
are the two things that come to my mind, Masi.
no, awesome. No, just to add, it just gives to me, it just puts 1 + 1 = 2, more evidence of we were one Polynesian nation within the Polynesian family. Did you want me to read the next bullet point, Dua?
Yeah.
All right. So to Rehu. In some Maori oral accounts, these are distinct small people from the underworld, differing from the fair skin. But see, this is what Clyde Moore brought up. Baptu Batu Payarehe. Batu Payarehe, who are often described as tall or normal sized supernatural beings with pale skin and red/blonde hair. Turehu are mischievous and live in a separate realm with motifs of guardianship or trickery, though details vary and may overlap with broader fairy like beings.
Mm. I find it interesting that it seems like in Hawaii and in New Zealand, there's like a positive and a negative side
Mm,
of the small people, and they're named very distinctly.
mm,
That
mm,
the Menehune ones are way more productive. They provide value. They exchange with the people, and just like in Tahiti and in New Zealand, there's another group that's a more
yeah,
connotation to it. So let me see. I'll read this last paragraph.
okay.
These legends often serve to explain mysterious ancient structures, natural features, or cultural origins, blending history with mythology. While Hawaii has the richest documented oral histories, variations appear across the Polynesian Triangle, suggesting a shared ancestral motif carried through migrations. Similar tales exist in broader Pacific cultures, but are less emphasized in places like Samoa, Tonga, and Rapa Nui, based on available records. Interesting.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, like I said in Tonga, when it says that last piece, not really emphasized. I don't know if there's a specific word for small people stature in a sense in the Tongan language, and there's not too many oral history that I've heard regarding those folks. I only came across it during my time in Hawaii, but yeah,
Hmm.
that's just my take on that. Dua, what are you thinking, man?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think like what can we infer possibly, just some ideas, creative thinking. They're not coming from Western Polynesia mainly, but
Yeah,
they're all throughout Eastern, Northern, and way South Polynesia. And I'm just wondering if that's has something to do. Once again, I come back to the Loau and them going out and building these infrastructure projects throughout Polynesia on behalf of Tangalor, the Tuitonga. Um, so, but I'm wondering if the physical descriptions of their size is not Minder, if that's like more metaphorical than actual stuff. But who knows? I don't know. Very interesting. I
mm,
never thought we would
mm,
dive this deeply into the Menehune clan, but
yeah,
it's just
very
kind of interesting
interesting,
to see
man.
the patterns in
Yeah,
throughout Polynesia. Seems to be a storyline found throughout the Polynesian Triangle. So interesting.
yeah.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else going on there, here's the next topic we're going to talk about, which a
Ooh,
lot of our viewers have brought up. Right? I'd never heard of it. I don't know
me
if you
too.
ever heard of it, Mussy, on the
Nope,
continent
nope.
of Mu. So yeah, this one kind of popped up because we had seen um, a handful of times, whether it's comments on social media, and I think once or twice, even during the live digital kava session, was a discussion on Mu. Um, let me see here. Let's bring this up. It says from Tony
Okay.
Aquino. Want to read this out, Mr. Atearo?
All right. From Tony Aquino, thank you for joining us and your comment. Aloha. I'm a lineal descendant of both Muay Maya and Manahune, both named by foreigners' clans. Tahitian, Samoan, Tonga. My ohana were small in nature, but they have great spiritual powers. Lono, my ohana. Thank you, Tony. Tua, what's your
Mm.
feedback on this comment here?
Yeah, so this one's interesting. I mean, Tony is giving us, he has to make us consider that these were actual physical descriptions of these people. And though they were small, apparently had some type of powerful or influential spiritual powers. And I will say this, Tony, from the Tongan oral history, the three founding fathers of Tonga slash Polynesia, from our perspective, is Tangaloa, Maui, and then the last one is Lo'au or Taula,
Mm,
right? And
mm,
the Lo'au or the Taula, which I'm seeing a lot of parallels with them and the Menehune people in their descriptions, they were the spiritual leaders and the civilization builders, the mound builders, right? So if we were to take a more literal interpretation of these stories, then we would say, well, apparently, maybe the Lo'au or the Taula were smaller statured out of the three founding clans,
mm,
right? And though they were small, but they were the actual spiritual slash infrastructure builders of the Polynesian nation, because obviously Tangaloa was more the kingly and kind of role, and then Maui was more the navigational and scientific role behind the civilization. But appreciate that, Tony. That's you're the first. Well, I haven't met you in person, but you're the first person I've ever had any communication that
yes.
has
Awesome.
said I directly descend um, from those lines. So very interesting. Appreciate you sharing that, Tony.
Yeah.
Mashi?
No, I was gonna say, Tony. So, to my understanding, that Muay Maya, that's the ones that were described, what we were reading as the people who are
Mischievous.
more mischievous, the ones that are kind of stealing and stuff. And looks like you descend from that, and you also descend from that other group, the Manahune, or the Menehune, which is more of the industrial, small people. So pretty cool, Tony. So thank you for sharing, man, and hopefully you take a sip of Ava there, and thank you for joining us, man.
Malo, malo. So coming back, I wanted this is this is going to be a fully AI. AI seems even AI is hitting our Polynesian content. So this
Oh
dude,
wow.
he's gonna he's gonna speak in English. He looks Polynesian, but just from the body language, I'm pretty sure he's AI. Um, but he's gonna talk to us about the lost continent of Mu. So let's get it rolling.
They say all legends have a truth behind them. In the 1920s,
Oh yeah,
an
that's AI.
aging British explorer named James Churchward shook the world with a bold claim. He said he had discovered the origin of all human civilization, not in Africa, not in Asia, but in a lost continent called Mu. According to Churchward, Mu was a vast and powerful land in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, bigger than South America, home to 64 million people, and the birthplace of science, spirituality, and ancient knowledge. He claimed he learned this from secret stone tablets hidden in India and Mexico, written in a dead language only a few could read.
Mm.
Churchward said the people of Mu were spiritually advanced. They built temples, mastered energy from the sun, and lived in peace. Until one night, the earth turned against them. Volcanoes erupted. The sea swallowed the land. And in a single day, Mu disappeared beneath the waves, lost forever. No evidence of Mu exists. Scientists call it fantasy. But believers say the truth is hidden in ancient symbols scattered across Egypt, Maya temples, Polynesia, and more. So here's the question. Was Churchward a madman or a messenger of forgotten history? Could Mu have really existed, or was it all just myth wrapped in mystery? Drop your thought. They say all legends have a truth.
Ooh.
Oh well. Oh well. What are the reactions, Mr. Atero?
Jeez. Well, I don't even know what to say because this is just out there in
This is
space a
new
little
stuff.
bit. This is
This is
like
new stuff.
new stuff. I mean, I can understand maybe the Mexico. There is some kind of connection there because I'm a believer of the people before of Polynesians coming from that part of the world, that Mexico, Central America, maybe even Northern America to South America that can come from, and maybe there was, people there. You're talking, man, if we're talking about a lost continent that far away and the people still existing that far, I mean, that's pretty. We that means we must have been connecting. I'm thinking like this is when the world was all the land masses were just one and connected. I don't
Pangea.
know. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know, but man, it's pretty crazy. Just like we always say in the live digital kava session, I'm keeping my mind open. I'm learning of this. This is the first time I've heard any kind of information about Mu. So I just don't know what to say. I'm just kind of like, okay, possibly.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. So I don't
So
know. You could probably expand on that more, Dua. Your thoughts?
I was thinking it's like so this is the Pacific version of Atlantis. Because Atlantis is obviously in the Atlantic Ocean. So is Mu the Atlantis of the Pacific Ocean? That's what it kind of sounds like. Or is this too crazy of a thought? That's where the Menehune come from. They were from Mu, and Mu sunk into the ground, and the Menehune just dispersed out into Eastern Polynesia. I don't know. This is definitely on the edge of thinking, but I guess this church word guy put his name to it and kind of pushed for it really hard and
Mm.
said they were tablets on an ancient language. Kind of sounds like the Book of Mormon story to me, but I don't know.
Oh, oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow.
Now we're
Man,
getting all over the place, like you're saying, Masi. This is interesting. I mean, it would have to have happened so long ago that I don't know a lot of Tongan oral history that would talk about such
mm,
a continent. Or, I mean, granted, and I just throwing that out there. I mean, our ancestors point to Vaihi. We believe Vaihi is South America. But I'll tell you this: if such a continent existed, could that have been Vaihi at some point? I don't know because obviously
mm.
Mu is connected to South America or the Americas because the tablets in the Americas,
Mexico.
they say,
Yeah, yeah.
spoke about it.
Mm.
So very interesting. I don't know what to really make as to what's facts and you know what's something that's reasonable to be open to, but it's something I haven't really thought a lot of, but our viewers have brought it up on several occasions. So I thought, hey, when I saw the video, I was like, well, we'll talk through this because this seems to be something that is part of the Kava conversations in other
Yeah,
parts of Polynesia. So I thought we would just watch it, react to it, and see what other discussions are from our brothers and sisters in different parts of Polynesia regarding the
yeah,
missing continent of Mu.
yeah. And just an invitation out there to our viewers who probably have more information. We already have some really good viewers who always send Tua and I stuff, articles, and other maybe things that probably will help our knowledge, and new information has come out, are always on top of it, sending it to us. For those who have an interest in this Mu ideology and way of thinking, send us some content and stuff. And the more we can discuss, the more Tu and I can be familiar with this idea of Mu. So just an invitation out there for everybody.
Hmm. Malo, malo. Very, very interesting, Marie. So let's see. Kind of going along with that, if there's nothing else on that topic, Mr. Ateroa, we will go to our next one. This is another AI generated.
All
AI is the
right.
way to go, people. AI is the way to
I would
go.
I would have to say that that last AI was pretty darn good. Like, man, I had to pick it out from like the way his moves. It was a little unnatural and kind of thing, but that's one of the better AIs I've kind of seen. And it's only gonna get better.
Visually, right?
Yeah,
Visually, it looked pretty convincing, but it wasn't until it started to move.
yeah, yeah.
So apparently, I closed the chat. Let me see if I can find right here. I found it. I'm gonna bring this. Let's share this tab. So this one, I don't know if you've seen these videos, these AI generated videos, Musty, where they show the history of a country and it just show
No.
the years as it goes by. So this one, they do it with like a bunch of like European
Mm,
nations, right? And they just show what happened over the centuries. So this one is on Samoa, and it happens relatively quickly. But
okay.
let's just watch through it and then react to it. So let's do this. Let's stop.
Did it go
Let's
all the way
stop.
to the
So,
BC?
huh?
No, I said did it start from the BC?
Yes.
Interesting.
So they're saying the Matai system started at 500 AD. I'm assuming.
Hmm.
What do you think is the driver behind that?
Maybe well, the only thing I can think of is this is during the time of Tangaloa, maybe orchestrating the civilization, centralizing the power of the you know Tangaloa, which is the only sole ruler of Polynesia, located in Tongatapu, and he's around in the other islands, orchestrating, and not only that, developing their systems, which Dr. Xiaoshi Eli, you have mentioned, have always rotated, which it was like a decentralized rotating of titles that would bring their daughters to marry with the Tangaloa or the Tuitonga, which continued that practice of the Tokatufa. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. I don't know if I could
Yeah, I mean
be.
that's what kind of sticks out to me. I mean,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the 500 AD. I mean, Tevita Fales,
$450.
Tuitonga line starts around 450, but could be much earlier than that.
Yeah,
Um, but this is what I'm talking about that I think is very interesting. Now, granted, we don't know what data is being used here, but
yeah.
if we were to take this as being accurate, we see from the very beginning Ha'amoa was a Matai system, not a unified king or
Correct.
centralized power, which to
Yeah,
me makes sense. But once again, it is very difficult to have an empire with a Matai system because there's no consistency in leadership. Like
yeah.
that's one of the reasons why America is not built for empire to be an empire or an empire nation, because every 4 years you could get a new leader who has. How can you get more opposite in leadership and vision than Joe
Yeah.
Biden and Donald Trump? So within 4 years, you could have a total 180, but it's hard to do that when you're trying to build an empire. You need consistent leadership, centralized power, same group of people with the same vision over long periods of time. But
Yeah. No, no, and just to add on to you're right, because this is going with David Tafare's list with the 450 of when the first Tuitonga started. It just shows you that this is why Samoa was never unified. They were always decentralized. It was never unified. That's why how can, and there is that idea. They said that Ha'amoa or the Tui Manua gave birth to the Tuitonga. How can, if Ha'amoa and even Tutuila and Manua were never all one, how can they learn how to be empire building when they never did it themselves? That's why Tangaloa lived in Tongatapu, and that was that skill that was passed on to the Tuitonga of how to build empire, and that's why it was unified through the Tongan archipelago, like the close islands there, and it spread it out. But when the empire was shrinking, it was only consolidated to what Tonga is now, what Polynesia used to be in a bigger scale. But that's the other idea here, that the Matai system is like what you said. It's a system not built for empire building, right? It's
yeah,
really you really can't build an empire with the Matai system, because, like I said, in the Matai system, and I can speak on this. It's good for within villages, because when you go from one village to another, there's different set of rules, and even within that whole west coast of Upolu or east coast, you go between villages, you can have different set of laws, and if you didn't like that other village or you were banished, you go to a different village that would accept you. So that's why that's not built for empire building. That's
empire
another
building. Yeah,
that's a evidence why Tangaloa didn't come from there. The Tuitonga didn't learn that from Ha'amoa or Manua or Tutuila. It was all from Tongatapu, because Polynesia was a Polynesian was the Tuitonga Empire. So
yeah,
yeah, that's just that.
and and just to kind of to drive that even further, Masi, is look at how resilient the Tongan system is. You don't get that type of resilience for being so young. You get that type of
Yeah.
resilience because it's been something that has been ingrained and reinforced for thousands of years. That's where that resilience comes from. I mean, that's another really interesting thing to take into account. So
Mm,
let's go to the next one. Early inter-island alliances and warfare.
okay.
1200,
That's pretty broad, but
dude,
I don't know.
pretty broad and pretty young. At 1200,
Yeah.
Tonga is getting close to its peak
Uh,
of the
yeah.
Tonga Empire.
Yeah. They're saying the peak was what, 1200 to 1500 tua of the
Yeah.
Tuitonga. Mm,
So what? And then once again, this is just inter-island
yeah.
alliances, right? And yet, a lot of the ideas we hear is, oh, the Tui Manua is already, and this actually fits a lot closer to that study that we did that said the Tui Manua was only 600 years old, and it would have been around the 1500s,
Mm,
right? So interesting. And once
mm,
again, we're just reacting to a video. We don't know what kind of research was done to this video, but that's true about every other comment on social media. But
yeah.
hey, someone actually took some time to try and put this together. We're just
Yeah.
kind of giving our thoughts behind it. So we're by no means trying to say this is a scientific video. Arrival of Tongans, 1310.
What is that? Are they trying to say, is that during the Salamasina era? I don't
I
know.
don't know. See, but this is the thing. Obviously, we take a very different approach,
Mm,
that we take a more integrated, right? Like if we go
yeah.
all the way back to the beginning, we would say that the Matai system was a deliberate system set up by Tangaloa to decentralize power because power was centralized on Tongatapu under the Tangaloa.
Mm,
So we would say there was no Tonga and there was no Samoa. We were all the Polynesian nation.
mm.
So there's to kind of say, oh, the arrival of the Tongans. You're saying the Tongans never came over there before the 1300s? Like, I find that hard to believe.
Yeah. And in that time, that's almost like from driving. That's almost like a drive from Auckland to Hamilton in today's, understanding. Like, there's no way the Tongans could have just arrived 1310. That's almost like just down the road trip. It's hilarious. It's almost the
Yeah,
same idea when some people have commented that Eastern Polynesia was so separate nation kind of thing. I was like,
yeah,
Eastern Polynesian was just another. Instead of going to Hamilton from here, you're going to Rotorua. That's all it is. It's another. So it's an hour away, Tua, from here to Hamilton. And it's like at 2 more hours, you're in Rotorua. That's Eastern Polynesia. So that's how it is today.
yeah.
Like that's how our ancestors were back in those days. With sailing was very common, man, in that time.
You know what that reminds me of? I'm gonna pull it. We weren't planning to share this, but can't help it now that you brought up this video. But you know how we talked about how there's this idea or separation of like
We
Eastern
had Maori,
Polynesians and
and
New
West.
Zealand Maoris. Yeah. So this is why we have to have these live digital conversations and we have to have these conversations. Because if we don't, then those ideas, like you're saying, that Eastern Polynesians their own thing. There's a
Yeah.
reason why you're called Eastern what? Polynesian.
Yes.
Because everybody observed and saw same language, same appearance, same religious setups, and very much similar cultural
Yes.
similarities. Now,
Yeah.
if we don't have these conversations and remind ourselves of how we are the same people,
Maori
this is
and
what you're going
Polynesian
to sound
always
like.
tell the difference between each other. But it's also like to know if they're Maori or not. If they're poly, like if they're islanders, they will say sharks. Maoris don't say that. Maoris don't say sharks. That's such a poly thing. So you say ah. Maoris and Polynesians tell the difference between
Hey, this is how I know. This is what I'm just kind of like seeing. It's like this girl probably has never left Auckland or New Zealand. Eh? Probably never. She's never left the island of Aotearoa, and maybe the furthest she's gone is to Sydney, Australia, and come back after a week. Yeah, yeah, do I? But that's what I'm thinking. That's what she's screaming to me, and I was like, oh, hey, but we're here to say, hey, you're a Polynesian just like everybody else. Some people just use shucks that don't use what you tend to use when you grew up. That's all it is. But I don't know. What's your thoughts, Tua? What's your
No,
thoughts?
this is what happens when you forget that they, like she said, the difference between a Maori and a Polynesian. And you're like, well, number one, you forgot that Maoris are Polynesian. Then number
Yeah.
two, she goes, the difference, if they say this, shucks, they're definitely an islander. And I'm like, New Zealand is an island. It's two, three, four, five islands. If you add the Chatham Island
They're
or
so
whatever.
funny.
I'm like, I think
No,
Homegirl thinks she lives on the lost continent of Mu.
man.
Maybe she's hanging out with the Menehunes. She's hanging out with the
I
Menehunes,
mean,
and
she,
she thinks she's living on the lost continent of Mu.
so you're saying she only walks around and gets out of the house at night and sleeps during the day? Do I? Eh? No, 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 and this is why you're saying why it's important we give our we have a conversation about this, because if this doesn't happen, look, we're having this next generation saying that Maori and their specific islanders, Polynesians, who are totally separate. Like if we don't speak on it, that becomes the dominant theory out
This
there,
is the
and then
ideas that
just this
see.
is the ideas what happens. So this is why we have the live digital kava session on the Polynesian Eyes podcast, so we can discuss, and then this will be shared with our Polynesian people, and saying, that's incorrect. We're all one people. We're not this separate thing like this young lady is sharing here, which is
Yeah.
funny. But
See, like we said, we want the ideas to compete, and you want a bad idea to die quickly in the live digital conversation. If she joined us in the live digital conversation and she made those comments, we would have been like, sister, let us
mm,
remind you, you are a Polynesian, right? You don't live on the lost continent of Mu. You live on an island called New Zealand. So you're not only a Polynesian, but you're an islander, a
yes, you
Polynesian
are.
islander. So
Yes, you
we could
are.
have saved her a lot of heartache.
That's hilarious,
But
Tua. That's funny.
our last comment had reminded me of this video, so I had to bring it up. Mr. Aotearoa, we have another super chat.
Ooh.
Mika, Maaloa Pito e Maukava. Mika.
Yes, Malo Maukava.
So he says, Toko, did you have a look at Lami Tuayava, guy who claims Samoa rule Tonga? Anyways, Malo Ngotama. We did read your comment, your super thanks earlier, Mika. We're going to reach out and try and find an opportunity. He does make a correction to the spelling here. He
Mm,
says Langi Tuayava.
mm.
Sorry for the wrong spelling. Not all good, but we're gonna reach out. And just so you know, Mika, Mr. Atearoa has been working hard. We're gonna have a Samoan brother join us tomorrow for a live digital kava session. Talk through some history, current events. Just have a Talanoa session here in the live digital kava session. But any comments on this super chat, Mr. Atearoa?
No, appreciate it, Mika. Thank you for your constant support on the Polynesian Eyes podcast. And tomorrow, just what Tua mentioned, we're having a Samoan doctor, goes by the name Sunny Nathanielu. So tomorrow's live digital cover session will be a strong Samoan flavor for our mix tomorrow. But
Iyo,
thank you again, Mika.
malo mautava Mika, malo. Oh yeah, we had too much of a laugh on that one, Mr. Aotearoa. Let's go
Mm,
back and find our video to
that was
when the
funny.
Tongans arrived. When the Tongans arrived. Let's go back to when the Tongans arrived. Okay, so our Tongans arrived in 1310.
Hmm. Is it
Rise of the
1510?
Marietoa line, 1510.
I think it's a little bit before that because it still had to be at the height of Kalufo Nuafekai, right? Because he still goes back, or maybe because I don't know what's the
Istalakai
year.
Faiki
Oh, Talagay Faiki, but wasn't it Kalufo Nuafekai that Oh no, that's
moves
he's
to
way
Samoa.
before. He's way before,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, maybe that's about right. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. What's your thoughts, Tua?
Well, Talakai Faiki is before Kaufonofekai, if I remember correctly. So
Mm,
what sticks out to me is once again, if we go off of the physical evidence, they said that the Tu'imanua started around that time. And I'm
mm,
pretty sure everyone in Ha'amoa says Tu'imanua is older than Marietoa.
yes.
So this is kind of interesting that this individual says the Marietoa line starts in 1510. Once again, this is at the height of the Tu'itonga Empire. And I think, if I remember correctly, the next episode that we have lined up to come out on the podcast is going to be a discussion on the Marietoa Tuna and Fata story because I think
Ooh.
Masi, you and I both agree we take more of a this was a little brotherly kick in the
Scuffle.
face,
Oh,
punch in the back, but not a full blown war.
it reminds that conversation reminded me of the Battle of Velata. It was a scuffle, a scuffle.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It wasn't a full war. This is a little battle scuffle of two young alpha males just testing their influence and political maybe power, potential power.
Yeah, young men coming of age trying to vie for political and military power. Here's the one thing, Mashi. I haven't seen a unified king or leader since the beginning of Samoa in this storyline, which we would say is accurate, right? This is
That is
accurate because
100%.
Ha'amoa was not known for consolidating of power, right? It was like other parts of Polynesia, as
Mm,
designed by Tangaloa and the Tuitonga, decentralized power that shared power amongst a handful of families that were all related slash descended from Tangaloa and related to the Tuitonga and were intermarried with those high-ranking families to maintain those relationships throughout the islands in the Polynesian Empire. So yes,
mm.
that's kind
Yeah.
of the thoughts there. Anything else, Mr. Atearoa?
No, play the video. Mm,
First
okay.
European contact, 1722. Okay.
I wonder where
Tonga was
that was.
what, 1700s as well?
Early,
Oh, you want to know who that is, Mashi?
yeah, which island? If it was Manua, Tutuila, or Polu, or Savai. I'm just curious where did that first European contact happen? Because I'm just curious if it was during the if it was during a time that it was during the one of the prominent titles like Maria Toas in the Western Samoa time, or was it more of the Tui Manua titles in American Samoa that maybe even made contact? Because I'm just thinking wherever the Europeans at the highest political authority would have made some contact with them, and that's where my question came from.
All right. Well, let's do this. I'll read it. It says the first recorded contact between Samoans and Europeans occurred in 1722. So the video got it right.
Mm-hmm.
When Dutch explorer Jacob Ragoveen sighted the
Mm-hmm.
Manua Islands, now part of American Samoa. This marked the initial European encounter with the Samoan archipelago, though Ragoveen did not land, only observing the islands and naming them the Bauman Islands after one of his captains. This brief sighting involved no direct interaction with Samoans, who were likely unaware of the Europeans' presence. The Samoans at the time were part of the vibrant Polynesian culture, skilled in navigation and living in fortified coastal villages led by Matai/chiefs, with no immediate impact from this distant observation. The next significant contact came in 1768 when French explorer Louis Antoine de Bougainville visited and named the Samoan Islands the Navigator Islands, reflecting the Samoans' renowned seafaring skills. Like Roggeveen, Bougainville's interaction was minimal, primarily involving observation and trade with islanders in the Manua group. Geez, Manua
The
was super
Manua again.
popular.
Mm.
With no recorded landings or conflicts, the Samoans engaged in trade, likely exchanging goods like food or mats, but specifics are sparse. A more impactful encounter occurred in 1787 when French navigator Jean Francois de Galop, Commandant de la Perouse, you like my French there,
Yeah.
visited Tutuila, now in American Samoa, on December 13th, 1784. Lapreux sent two exploration parties to Tutuitla's north shore. One from the ship Bosul landed in Fangasa, oh, the
Mm.
sacred Fanga, and
Mm.
another Lestabla at Asu. A violent clash erupted at Aasu Bay, later called Massacre Bay, triggered by tensions from an earlier incident at Fangasa. A Samoan from a visiting Upolu delegation, angered by being ejected from La Pruse's ship after attempting theft, incited a crowd. When La Pruse's crew sought water at Asau, they were attacked, resulting in the deaths of 12 Frenchmen, including First Officer Paul Antoine Florit de la Galle, and an estimated 39 Samoans. Ooh.
Mm.
So I thought there was higher efficiency rate there. 12 Frenchmen, so a 2-1 loss.
That's
Laprousse
yeah.
described Sao as a treacherous place, and the incident gave Samoa a reputation for hostility, deterring Europeans visitors for decades. Now, this is the big difference of the experience of Europeans with Tonga, right? It was quite the opposite
Yeah,
when they visited Tonga. Not a lot of theft, not really any issues in fighting,
and it was
except when they
calculated
did.
behind. Yeah, and it was
Yes.
calculated.
And when it did happen, there were no evidence to go back to Europe to record such a thing. So
Mm. No, no,
go ahead, Masi.
no. I was gonna just say, and then when they did wanted to ransack a ship, and remember, Tonga. When I say the current Tonga now has the record of ransacking European ships, and it's either one, very few, not even double digits, people would lose their lives. Like it was very minimal of Tongan lost lives. Like that 39 Samoans passed away just for, and then compared to 12, man, that's a huge imbalance,
Mm.
of loss. So
Looks like a relevant comment here. Theo Fennis. Hey, welcome, Theo, to the live digital kava session here, Polynesian Eyes podcast. But he says Tutuila in those days was under the rule of Upolu Matai. I don't know
that's
what
it.
that is. Do you? What
Yeah,
is that?
Upolu Matai.
The
That's
other
under
island?
the Upolu Matai system, or high, one of the top title holders of Upolu, overseeing the the land of Tutuila, American Samoa, which is interesting, and that gives the thought that this gentleman Theo is adding that Manua's the Tui Manua influence only was in Manua. It looks like Upolu has a lot of influence in Tutuila because Tutuila is closer to Manua Islands,
Mm,
which is very
okay.
interesting.
And Theo also adds the Upolu party came through to attack Laprousse and his men because the Frenchmen had taken some Samoan women. Oh, yeah, we're not huge fans of the French.
Yeah,
So,
French, the
so
French just, yeah, they're interesting folks. Eat, sleep, and drink of
and
the French
have
now.
croissants, make some
Little
croissants.
little songs. Did you want me to read that
Okay.
next paragraph, Tua, or?
Yeah, go ahead, read that one out, and then we'll go back to the video.
All right. These early contacts involved no permanent European presence. The Samoans, organized under their Matai system and unaware of the broader implications of European exploration, continued their traditional way of life. Significant European influence began later, with missionaries like John Williams arriving in 1830, marking a shift toward cultural and religious transformation. Okay, that's interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We'll come back to the video here. So far, the one thing we've checked on the video panned out, even though it
Yeah.
was more just a sighting.
Yeah.
So at least this person seems to have done some homework.
Yeah. And no, and I'm glad Tua that we kind of looked in the first in contact, because it looks like it's that American Samoa now that did all the early contacts with the Europeans, the islands of Tutuila and Manua. Mm.
Mm. So this is that one that the guy was mentioning, or our digital researcher was mentioning later on, right? So later on,
Mm.
the missionaries arrive and bring religion and
Yep.
literacy. Civil Wars. We've so this is when the Civil Wars happened. We do have two videos that we've scheduled or saved. We do want to walk through some videos that were put together and I didn't know this, but
Mm.
Samoa had two civil wars, not just one. They went through two civil wars that I was not aware of. So this is something that maybe in some future episodes we'll walk through. We almost did it a few
Yeah.
weeks ago, but I can't
Okay.
remember what we ended up going with. We went with another video, but this is something we hope to walk through here in the future, is go through some of the history of the civil wars in Samoa.
Okay.
Tripartite. I don't know much about that. Is that part of the civil wars too? Yes,
That
that's the
gotta be.
second multiple civil wars. Yes, this is also I remember hearing this because they tried to do a tripartite agreement and it just didn't work out, so they ended up fighting again.
Okay.
Mao movement.
Mm.
I love that remittances and global. But that's true also of Tonga, right? Like
Yeah.
remittances is such a big part of the economy. If you take away remittances from Tonga, Samoa, and Polynesia, all of our economies will crash. Right?
Mm.
Just it's crazy how much money the diaspora throughout the world, the Polynesian diaspora, how much money they send back home.
I would say this, Tua. I think French Polynesia would have been okay without remittance. American Samoa would be okay without remittance. It's the you know what's gonna hurt crash the economy. It's the independent nations like Samoa,
Mhm.
Fiji, Tonga.
Yeah,
It
because
it's
they
those
can't
ones.
pull the
Yeah,
resources from when you're still part of a larger country or nation as a territory, you can pull the resources
yeah,
from them to stabilize your economy. But the independent nations would struggle a
yeah,
lot. I agree 100%. Like we said earlier, there's pros and cons of being independent, right? There's certain pros of being colonized, and we've kind of mentioned this, especially for French Polynesia, Samoa. Well, I guess all of Polynesia, because Tonga is the only one that didn't get colonized. The negative is you lose your autonomy, and you have a higher risk of losing your language, your culture, and so forth. But the pro is you get access to more resources, you get to go overseas and partake of the opportunities that overseas provides. Now, if you remain independent, you keep your sovereignty, keep your independence, have a better ability to make decisions on how or what you're willing to exchange, right, in your
yeah,
culture
yeah,
to progress. But then the negative is you don't get access to the resources of overseas and the opportunities. Because I mean, let's look at it as, if you were Samoan from the late 18 or mid 1800s, you started to have the opportunity to go to Germany, Europe. So
America.
basically Europe, America, and New Zealand well before any Tongans could really have significant opportunities to go overseas. And then the infrastructure that a smaller nation can benefit from US money, from German money, and New Zealand slash UK money. There's certain advantages in that too. So
Yeah.
yeah, kind of interesting when you kind of take into account pros and cons, no matter what happens. Anything else, Mr. Teroa?
No, just to add on to like the pros and cons, right? The like what you said, Tonga, it has so much rich oral history, ruins, all of these things that exist because we were never colonized. And, now that our other Polynesian brothers and sisters, because of what happened with colonization, um, those oral histories and stuff are a lot more, let's just say, mixed because when you have interruption interfering with your daily affairs and the 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 communication of generation to the next generation, you can get a lot of oral histories that can be mixed up and confusing and maybe conflicting too
Mm.
with each other. So that's what I'm saying with the culture, language, and preserving it. It's really rich in the core with Tonga. That's why Tonga is never too, let's just say, too Tonga is never too worried about when people tell Tongan history. It's kind of like they're just telling it because they don't know it. You know what I mean? While other Polynesian, our other brothers and sisters from the Polynesian nation, they get a little bit too sensitive when they have other non-Polynesians speak on their behalf because, like I said, it's because they've been colonized. It's That's not the right
There's
way that
trauma
they.
with that, right?
There's
There's
trauma with
sensitivity.
that
Hmm.
sensitivity, while Tongans just say, "Oh, they're not Tongan. They're just they have a PhD. They're just speaking what they learn in school and stuff." But when it comes to speaking on the history, we can have people that no one knows of in Tonga that can speak on, okay, that's incorrect. This is the real history, and speak on that because they've been the caretaker of a specific part in the Tongan or Polynesian history that they can speak on. So that's all. I just want to explore on
Mm.
that why Tonga in the Polynesian family is not too sensitive like our other Polynesian brothers and sisters. That's all.
Yeah, and understandably so, right? They're a
Yes.
little bit more sensitive because they've gone through something. So has Tonga. Tonga has gone through some tough times, but there's been some unusual circumstances, that challenging circumstances that our brothers and sisters in
Mm.
the other islands have gone through as well. So understood that. Looking at the time, Mr. Aotearoa, we're gonna skip our next topic, and we're gonna close out the show with some social media comments,
All right,
if
let's
that's
do that.
okay with you.
Yes, yes, sir.
So,
Sir.
yeah, looking at the time, we're gonna skip some of our initial planned stuff, and there were some interesting comments. Actually, uh, been pleasantly surprised by our last episode in the podcast that was released. It's gotten a lot of attention, and appreciate it. You know, it's good for us, more exposure. Um, but there were also some interesting comments that came out of that, right?
Mm.
Let me see if I can
This
find it.
is this the our last video you we put up on the Polynesian.
Yes,
Okay,
this
all
was
right,
the one on the languages where we did the
okay.
analysis on the Proto-Polynesian and so forth. Um, so like here's one that's kind of interesting. This is from Vaileaonga Matangi Ilisara, whatever it is. I'm not a Samoan there, but it says here, you need to listen to Dr. Taliai of Tongan and Tongan history. The Tongans, at least the Tuitonga dynasty and the Tuikanukupolu, all came from Samoa. It's all recorded by the Tuitonga Tupou family. AI collects all information from Google, much of which are proved to be all studies by people outside of the islands and the academics from outside. Samoans and Tongans are the same people, but stop trying to make Tonga the origin. Tongans never ruled Samoans. The Tongan who lived in Samoa were used as part of the Painga of Samoa dynasty to reinforce his dominance, and that's why Tuna and Fata fought them and destroyed them. They then the way you are going at finding your conclusions are very Western and mechanical, which is not the proper way to understand the Polynesian world. Did you even grow up in the islands and understand the island context and language, etc.? Look up the documents kept by the Tuitonga dynasty of Tonga about where they came from. Hmm. Pasi, where did you grow up that you have mechanical thinking? Don't you know that
uh,
Tuitonga's records tell us these things?
no, it's just very funny for our Uso over here. There's he asked a bunch of questions. We asked him to go to the video. We've already done a video with Dr. Tariai and his version of Tongan history. You can go there and find it. It's in our many videos. We've released so many videos because that was a common comment that we received during that time. So we did a reaction to that. You can find our thoughts there. Uso, and then the other one is regarding the history of Tonga. being the origins. Like I said, we've already presented our ideas. You can provide something different. All you've just said is just what your dad's told you or your grandpa's told you. There's really no other evidence that you can provide that Hamo is the origin. But hey, we appreciate your comment here. And just to re-clarify, Tua and I did grow up in Tonga. We both understand Tongan. Tua also has been to Samoa, not just Western Samoa, but American Samoa, Fiji, and even here in Hawaii and New Zealand. I've done all of them too. So we've been around Uso. So that's just my thoughts there. Tua, I don't know if you had anything else.
Yeah, I did just a couple of things to add to that. Is not only did we already react to Dr. Taliai's TEDx talk, we've reached out to him
Yeah.
to request for him join us so he can provide the best version of his idea, right? We
Mm,
believe here in the Polynesian Eyes live digital kava sessions for the ideas to compete, and we want the best idea. We want the best version. We want you to give yourself, if you want to, give yourself a fight camp, a idea camp, so when you come on the show, you can
mm,
give the best version of your ideas. um, and so that's something that I think is very interesting. Some of the comments about Tuna and Fata, that's probably perfect timing. We're going to
yeah.
release our interpretation of the Tuna and Fata story. And
Yeah.
believe it or not, there's like oral histories in Tuvalu. I think is
Yeah.
it Tuvalu or Tokelau that
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
say that Tuna and Fata are from their island. So what are we going to do? Right? So who are we going to believe? Are we going to believe that Tuna and Fata are Samoan, or are they from Tuvalu or
Or
Tokelau,
outside of Samoa. Yeah.
or outside of Samoa, right? Like, who
Yeah.
are we going to believe? This is why we have to have these conversations. And my last comment is you mentioned Western way of viewing our history. Brother, that's exactly what we think
You're
Dr.
doing.
Taliai
Yeah.
and
That
you
yeah.
are doing is you're coming in with a very foreign and Western perspective. I can tell you with confidence that the information we share are from the Tuitonga
Yeah.
archives. And what are the Tuitonga archives? It's in the DNA, it's in the blood, and it's in the ruins throughout the ancient capital of Polynesia, Tongatapu on Mua.
Yeah.
Anything to
Yeah.
add to that?
Yes. Well, and then also add a lot of the information we share is from Tevita Fale. Tevita Fale didn't go to an academic school, Uso. Like that's another thing. He didn't go to an academic school. He never finished even high school. He has devoted his whole life on uncovering the Polynesian origin. So this is just all his work we're just speaking on. So sorry, he didn't go to an academic school, so that's not a Western school. Every academic school is a Western school, and today the school that Devita Fale has mentioned are the traditional schools of the Kariloa and the Tanoa, the ancient Polynesian schools. That's the only school he has. He didn't have a paper from the Palangi University, like he always says. So just to add to that, to say that we
Yeah.
coming from a Western view, this is David Tafale's work that we're just sharing with the world that that's his school that he only has was the Kariloa and the Tanoa are the educational schools in Polynesia in Mua.
Yes. And so I would assume you would take those credentials,
Yeah.
brother Vailua. I'll just call you Vailua. Um,
Okay.
the last one, then this is the one that is going to be interesting, and this is one of the next things that's kind of tied to our sister who said you want to know the difference between Polynesians and Maoris, right? This comment here by Te Roa. He says Mangaia in the Cook Islands is the oldest island in the whole of the Pacifica. Thoughts, Mr. Ateroa?
Well, Mangaya, like what I said, the oldest island, but we're talking about people settling in Polynesia, which is still in Tongatapu in Nukureka. So, they probably have the oldest island, but it's it's just an island. There was no evidence of people settling there earlier. The only early evidence of human settlement in Polynesia is in Tongatapu, in Nuku'uleka, and Tu and I have a conversation that we're just gonna leave it there. If we have another Polynesian nation or the Polynesian tree of islands that have an earlier date, then we can always. There's many other places that we can do tests to find much older than Nuku'uleka, because I believe in some of the oral history that there's older places that we can find that we haven't discovered too much. We just stopped at Nuku'uleka because that's the oldest, and that settles the score on that one on there. But I don't know, Tua, you have anything else?
No, just this is the reason I just thought this would be a good way to close, because everybody thinks that we're picking on Ha'amoa, or no, we're not. It just happens to be the most prominent idea out there, right there, right? Is that is where the origin's from. As we've gone through the digital kava sessions and our social media, we're learning all kinds of history, right? Like we
Mm,
mentioned, Tuna and Fata being from outside of, Samoa. Then now we're learning our brothers and sisters in Eastern Polynesia saying Tapu Tapu Atea was actually the center of Polynesia. And we're hearing that Eastern Polynesia was its own break off or settled separately. And then we also hear from our brothers and sisters in Fiji of the Tuifiti or the
oh, yeah.
Tuipulotu Empire. So we which one is it, right? We have to walk through and we have to talk about these ideas. I'm sure, we're starting to turn the corner on Ha'amoa. We've
Yeah.
we've visited it, we've walked through that. We're kind of turning the corner. It's like, okay, looks like the next major discussion may be Eastern Polynesia, and
Okay.
talking more about, you know, maybe you have the oldest island there, but I remember a guy from Puka Puka, right?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, he said that in Mangaya there are Tongan ruins in Mangaya. And so, or is it Puka Puka? But in that area, there are Tongan ruins that oral history says there are Tongan ruins in those areas of the Cook Islands. So, if you're talking about geology, the oldest island in formation, well, maybe. But if
Mm,
you're trying to use that position as that means that's where Polynesia originated from, we're doubtful of that point.
very likely.
But we're trying to keep an open mind and at least
Yes, sir.
entertain the idea. But
Yeah.
we must warn you, Tetereroa, our goal is to kill a bad idea sooner than later.
Yes,
We
sir.
don't want you to walk around Teteroa and say, like our sister we showed earlier, that the difference between cookies and Polynesians are are this or that, right?
Hmm.
And but yeah, I thought that would be a way to close it out. Just looking at the time. Any
Yeah.
closing thoughts, Mr. Atearoa, for the live digital conversation today?
No, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. A special thank you for everyone that's contributed to this live digital kava session. Thank you for your guys' kava bag that you brought to this live digital kava session on the Polynesian Eyes broadcast. Appreciate the support, appreciate the comments, and always the your guys' engagement to trying to understand our history. We just provide the content of what our thoughts are, and Tevi Tafale's work of the Polynesian origins and history, and you guys decide to help you guys just help with your guys' understanding and also part of your identity as Polynesians out in the world, and also the Polynesians who view this from the islands, from the Polynesian islands. Love you guys all. Until next time, Ofatu. That's it for me. Malo.
All right, Malo, Mr. Atearoa. Want to thank all the viewers and listeners, and especially those who brought the kava and shared the super chat kava bags for
Yeah,
us. We will collect those and use that to follow our next live digital
yeah,
kava session, which will be tomorrow. For those, very rarely can we predict when our next Kava session is going to be? But tomorrow around 5 p.m. Pacific, for those in the United States, I believe that's around 12 p.m. New Zealand
Afternoon.
time.
Yeah.
Afternoon tomorrow, we will have a live digital conversation with a guest, which we're very excited for. But we want to say thank you to everyone who, in the super chats, threw in their digital kava bags. Now, if you're joining us after the live session and you're watching the recording, you can still contribute a bag of kava through the super thanks, and we will make an effort to bring up your super thanks comments on our next live digital kava session. Once again, very grateful for our listeners and our viewers. The last 2 months for the podcast have been phenomenal in regards to support, interaction, and just overall growth. And want to thank all the viewers and the listeners for that. And as we always share at the end of a live digital kava session, stay curious. Don't be afraid to ask the bold questions. Until next time, peace.
Peace. Bottle.